Today we are going to be talking about hitting rock bottom. This sounds ominous, right? Hitting rock bottom. Oh, I even feel it in me like, I don't want to hit rock bottom. That doesn't feel good. It's like a pit in my stomach. Ah. But here's the thing I love about rock bottom. When we hit rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. We can truly begin that journey back upward, back into positivity, back into these higher levels of consciousness where everything seems okay again and we're free to be, to feel, to live. Everything just feels a bit safer and a little bit less fearful. So let's see if we can embrace this idea of rock bottom together. Perhaps you feel like you're there right now, or maybe you're wishing you were, so you can begin that upward ascent again. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Where are you right now? Are you feeling like high level of consciousness? Oh, things are good, exploring this because you're already in a good place and you can take it in? Or are you here because you're like, man, I'm feeling down. Things look tough. And as you write in, as you share, I want to share for you what not even rock bottom looks like, but lower levels of consciousness that come along with rock bottom. But we can go there at any point in time throughout the day. So lower levels of consciousness look like, I'm going to use an analogy that one of my teachers, Nikan Gormley, taught me. And he explained it in the sense of a hot air balloon. And I really like this analogy because it's like, okay, if your hot air balloon is tethered to the ground, you're at this, that's equivalent to our lower level of consciousness. And when you're tethered to the ground, you don't have that higher perspective. You can look left and right and maybe turn around front and back, but you're going to be on the ground. So you're going to be limited to seeing things from down there. Whereas when that balloon begins to rise, as the consciousness begins to rise, you feel lighter. Oh, things feel a little less heavy. You look around, and all of a sudden, things look differently, right? You gain a whole new perspective. It's this perspective that can change everything for us. All it takes is an insight to change our life. I'm going to say that again. All it takes is an insight to change your life. So let's see if we can go there together today. To find those insights that you need to see things from a different perspective that will allow you to have that distance from the bottom, that distance from the ground, to remember, oh yeah, at my core, somewhere deep inside, I'm okay. Everything's going to be okay. And that is a gift of a feeling. Oh, Allison says, I'm at financial bottom in midlife, yet aware that I have a myopic view. Wow, that's deep. Hmm. I also want to share something about how we recognize when we're at these different states of consciousness. Because, like I said before, it can shift even throughout the day. You know, we have this overall, maybe this is what the month looks like, and maybe within that, the week is also going like this, and within that, the day is also going like this. So there are all these levels, and all these variations we can have. And I want you to think of a time when things were seemingly shite around you, and you still managed to have a great laugh and feel really good. Or perhaps everything was going really well in your life, and all of a sudden, a little thing happened, or maybe nothing happened at all. This can happen too. Simply a thought comes in, and all of a sudden you're filled with dread or anger or frustration and just whoa. Right? So our consciousness is our own. It's not dependent on the circumstances around us. Although that's what we're told to believe. Like even the definition of stress in the dictionary is about our external circumstances causing us stress. But what I'm going to talk about today is the idea, and just see if you can come with me with a bit of curiosity on this ride, that it's our thoughts creating the stress. It's not our external circumstances. Yes, it's true. We can see something that can remind us of something. It can, in a way, trigger a thought. But at the end of the day, it's the thought that causes us stress and not our circumstances. This is a big thing to not only accept, but also it's a big thing to let go of the blame that we often put on our external circumstances. You know, even though I know this consciously, even though I teach this idea of levels of consciousness, I still like to blame my husband for things when I feel cranky, right? I still get mad at my kids, and that's what lower levels of consciousness look like. For me, a lower level of consciousness is when I'm sitting there in my head thinking everybody around me is an asshole. Have you guys been there? The waiter's an asshole. My kids are acting like assholes. My husband's being a jerk. Right now, Amanda says. Pamela's smiling. Yeah. Yeah, we all go there. We all go there. And that's okay, right? It's okay. We're all going to go there again. And we're all going to come back up. And the trick to not getting stuck there is to notice where we are and see whatever judgments are coming up about ourselves, about our situation, and just see if we can observe those. Because when we get stuck in judgment, we get stuck in our situation. When we get frustrated with ourselves for being at a lower level of consciousness, we get stuck in our situation. So how do we get unstuck? We simply notice that we're frustrated. We simply notice, oh, I'm noticing those low levels of consciousness, those thoughts that come in with that. And not only am I noticing it, I'm mad at myself for going here again. I feel like, oh, I'm here again. And then we go, oh, I'm judging myself for being here. That's how I'm staying stuck today. And I'm going to share a secret with you guys. There's nothing more you have to do than notice. The system, meaning the system of our minds, the system of our bodies, the system of life, is designed to take care of itself. The more we try to intervene with our thoughts, the more we simply get in the way and keep the system from doing what it was divinely designed to do. So take a deep breath as we begin to notice this divine system, not only in ourselves, but yeah, let's start there. The divine system of our breath. Notice your breath right now. It's doing well, right? Even before you noticed it. It's keeping you alive. Your chest is moving up and down. It's giving you the oxygen you need and all the cells that need it. Like, that system is perfect by design. It's perfect by design. And there are lots of yeah buts that can come up, and that's okay. Just notice those. Allison says, I just walked away from a personal growth task as I felt walls closing in. Interesting. And I'm going to ask you, you can share, or you can just observe. What comes up for you with that? Is that okay that you did that? And just breathe. Listen. Watch. How about for the rest of you? Are there any judgments coming up for you around that? Should or could or would? Are you relating it to your own experience in your own life? Watch yourself doing that. And simply notice if any judgment is coming up with it. That you should or could or would be doing something differently from the thought that you had. We're all going to continue with the habits we have as long as they work for us. Oh, Allison says, these options, I judge myself for a moment. I accept where I am as I air out. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's it. All you have to do is notice the judgment. Oh, I'm judging myself. Sometimes if it's something really deep in me, I notice that I'm judging myself for judging myself. Do you guys ever do that? Yeah. Yeah, some hearts are popping up. Thanks, Insight Timer. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so the next time you do that, you can notice that. And what's magical about this is the more you notice, the less control it has over you. The more you notice, the quicker you begin to take those deep breaths again. The quicker the bounce back time becomes. And the less time and energy you spend feeling stuck. Stuck in anger, stuck in victim mode, stuck in judgment, stuck in whatever very real feeling you're experiencing. And sometimes when you notice, it doesn't change right away. We don't get a feeling of relief. That's okay too. Right? the more we cling to this objective of trying to change where we are, how we are, the more we're going to be stuck. Again, that's the mind coming in, the mind wanting to help us, but through controlling in a way that's not so helpful. Let's take a few deep breaths as we see what wants to come up now. Really feel into your seat. Feel into whatever you're sitting or lying on. Maybe feel into your feet if you're standing. Just notice that support beneath you. Notice how it's always going to be there to support you. There's always going to be gravity on Earth, as long as we're alive. The system is designed perfectly. What about the ocean? What about the ecosystems of the ocean? Do you think the ocean is planning how to build the reefs? Do you think she's using her waves to knock out some sea urchin species that might not be as helpful in constructing this beautiful bright pink coral? No, the system is perfect by design. It's designed to take care of itself and reset itself. Even after a man-made disaster, slowly that ocean will reset itself. Nature has a divine intelligence that will bring it back into balance. And you were created in exactly the same way. You have this balance inside of you. All you have to do is notice. Notice the balance. Notice the imbalance. Keep noticing. And watch over time as it changes, as it always does, as everything always does. I'm really feeling the love today from the viewers in the comments. Thank you for that. It feels really warm. And if you'd like to support me and Insight Timer with a donation, that would be so appreciated as well. And let's breathe. Let's settle in. Let's settle into the divinity of our systems. Just notice how you're feeling now versus how you felt when you joined the call. Notice your breath. Perhaps notice your shoulders or your back. Just notice how your body feels. Notice if there's any judgment coming up around that, be it good or bad. Can you watch your breath without trying to control it? Can you watch your fears arise without trying to control them? Without trying to push them away or put a label on them? answer is yes, you can. Yes, I can. And sometimes we won't. And that's okay too. Because we're all in this together. Mm. Yeah, beautiful. Anne says nature helping with PTSD bipolar. Diagnoses don't need to control her. Labels are not her only thing. That's really powerful, yes. That's really powerful. And nature can really help with this. And so can meditation. I said meditation. Yeah, so can meditation, but what I meant to say was so can medication. And so can doctors. You know, we're so complex as beings. And it's so important that we don't judge ourselves. Or rather, let me take a step back, that we notice when we're judging ourselves. And when we do that, we can naturally extend a bit more grace. I remember when I had to go on medication after my daughter was born. And before I had my daughter, I basically renounced conventional medicine, unofficially. But I was like, you know, I got my herbs, I got my naturopath, I got my meditation, I'm doing all these spiritual growth things, you know, like, I got this. Like, the energy's got this. And then I had my daughter, and it was like all of the fears I had worked through just came bubbling back. I got to see everything again. I described it to a friend of mine as having a child was like going to psychotherapy every day, all day with your newborn. As her perfection reminded me of my perceived imperfections that I was still holding on to. So this, plus some nerve pain and a few other things in my life that happened, all of a sudden I just went from one day to the other with like crippling anxiety. And I knew the only way to get out of it was to start taking medication because my mind felt so out of control. I had a lot of tools then. I had already been working on healing for some years. But the wave and the circumstances made me realize that me doing this in the way that I had done it before was no longer going to work. And I had to swallow a lot of pride to go on medication. And I'm so glad I did, because it brought me the peace and the balance that I needed to know that I was enough and I was going to be able to take care of my child. And that was the biggest fear I had. It was an all-consuming, nearly crippling fear. And medication helped me realize, helped bring down that edge so I could build it back together. I didn't stop using my spiritual tools. In fact, I believe those are what helped me get through that time and that period with a lot more ease and grace, and probably a lot more quickly than if I didn't have them. But I'm so thankful to have had that balance and to have had that experience. To go, okay, you know, this whole spiritual thing, it's awesome, it's lovely, and it can feel really good. And there is value in conventional medicine. There is value in what has been built all around me for so many years. And I can tap into that too. I don't need to do it all myself. And that was real learning in that experience for me. I don't need to do it all myself. What comes up for you guys with that? What are you thinking of? What are you processing? You know, I have to admit, I think this is the first time I've ever shared this story live on camera, on video. And while I know that it's healing, I also feel like there's still a smidge, like there's a tiny part of me that still felt some shame around it. And I suppose that's how I know that it's healing, because I felt that come up in my chest, like, oh, are you really sharing this with all these strangers? Are you really going to post this to your YouTube channel later? And yeah, I am. Because it's really important information. And it comes down to seeing ourselves exactly where we are and beginning to accept ourselves. Because when we can accept ourselves and where we are, things automatically begin to move again. Because acceptance is the opposite of judgment. Judgment is a really powerful tool to keep us stuck. And acceptance is a really powerful tool to liberate us. Mm. Yeah, yeah, good. And so she's under medical care and fought for years, but the combination is helping. Absolutely. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I can totally relate to that. And how wonderful that we can have this combination, that we can have these conversations like this right now, online, live, and share our stories. Share our stories that felt like they were crushing at the time. But over time, through the depth that they forced us to go to, we realized, oh my gosh, there's strength under here. Oh my gosh, where I felt like I was hitting rock bottom, I was actually hitting this like new space of strength and faith inside of me. Isn't it wonderful how these conversations always come full circle? Ah, hitting rock bottom. Now that I'm thinking of it, it doesn't even look like a bottom. It looks like a perceived limitation below me that when I actually go there, when I actually try to dig a little bit deeper and break through that, it's like light just pours out and opens up. Getting to the bottom of things. Maybe that's what the title of this talk should have been, Getting to the Bottom of Things. Oh, yeah. Peter asked if I had support from family and friends while I was going through my challenges. I did. I did. I had friends that would come over and support me. I had a supportive husband. My mother flew in to help me. I had a group of women who were going through similar experiences that I met through talking with a psychiatrist. And that was hugely helpful as well. And I had a sorry, oh, I'm really clearing stuff today. I had a spiritual teacher who would do sessions with me. I was still, I believe, yeah, and I had people also from classes that I've been taking at the Transformational Arts College in Toronto who came by to check on me. So I had a lot of support. And I think I was so blessed. I was so blessed to have that. And what I had to learn to do with that support was receive it. It was a support that was always around me, and I had to learn how to receive it. To let go of that part of me that was like, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to figure this out. Realize that that was even going on inside of myself and go, I need help and I need to ask for it. Man, was that transformative. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I love that you brought this up, Peter. It's hard to open up your soul, even a close family sometimes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think in this case, for me, it was easier to do it with my husband. I'm blessed to find someone that can support me in the way that he does. And with friends, and maybe even with people that I didn't know so well. Because there's really, I think there are two things coming up now that I think about it. There's vulnerability on a new level with people that you've known for so long, and maybe a fear that that's not okay there, that there'll be some rejection, and you want to keep those people around you. And there's also simply perhaps many years of patterning going on. Many years that we've learned, oh, we just don't talk about this stuff in our household or with these people. It's just not a place we go. It's not a topic we bring up. Not so nice, not so safe. Hmm. And now that I say that, it makes me want to be a little bit more vulnerable with my birth family. Wow, guys, this is really a healing live for me today. Oh, thank you for being here with me. Hmm. What about you guys? What comes up for you in that? Hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for asking, Peter. What comes up for you in this story, you personally? Is there a place where you're struggling to find strength? Is there a place where you're confronting doubts? Is there a place where you feel like you need healing? Write it in or simply offer it up. And know that if it's coming up for you, it's coming up for someone else. Because that's the beauty of this energy. That's the beauty of coming together to do these things, to listen. And while we sit, I invite you to breathe into your stomach. right into the mid-tummy area. That's where I feel it in my body right now. So just take some deep breaths in here and allow whatever comes up to come up. Allow whatever judgments that arise around it to come up. And we're just going to watch those. We have a couple comments as we breathe. Peter says, how do you know when you're at rock bottom and not going further down? You don't. I'm sorry to say, you don't. But I do know that the more you can see your experience objectively, the more you can practice self-compassion and looking at whatever you're experiencing with non-judgment. And not with like this intention, like, oh, I'm going to look at this with non-judgment, but simply noticing where the judgment is. Allowing the divine nature to take care of it. The more you do that, the easier your path will be as you continue down. I also know from personal experience, many, many times, and through experiences of my clients, that you can hit rock bottom and you can be on this trajectory back up and it can feel really good. And then something can happen that makes you feel like you go backwards. And even though you don't go as far back as you once were, it can feel even worse. It can feel even worse because now you remembered what good feels like. Because you saw your true self again and it's like, boom, knocked right backwards. And it's really easy to get stuck here and go, oh my gosh, I'm back here again. This feels so terrible. Why does it feel so terrible? La 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 la. And again, the best thing you can do is notice. Notice the thoughts, notice what's going on. And when that gets to be too much, you play with your kids, you binge watch Netflix, you read a book, you go for a run, you do whatever you have to do to keep living. And when it comes up, you notice. And perhaps you can remember that you're not alone. That I've gone through this, I will go through this again, as will every single person listening right now. And that's okay. It doesn't mean we did anything wrong. It doesn't mean we need to fix anything about ourselves or our circumstances. We're just being asked to go within, to keep digging. Actually, now that I say that, that doesn't sound completely aligned. And I'm reminded of times when I've tried to dig, like, come on, get to the bottom of this. Come on, keep going within, keep meditating. Yeah. And that doesn't help either. That's another form of control with the mind. That's another way of judgment, of saying what you're feeling right now is not okay. So we just return to noticing when we can, as best we can, whatever is coming up and whatever judgments are coming up with that. And we can even say, I do not like how this feels. This feels super icky. I am so uncomfortable right now. I feel so much judgment towards this. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful recognition of yourself going through things that are hard. That's a beautiful way to allow yourself to be seen, to be heard, and to feel validated. And nobody can give that to you better than you can give that to yourself. Nobody can offer you validation as deeply and as lovingly and as powerfully as you can do yourself. Anne said, never thought, put that into words. I guess that's not weighed on me, proud to release it, and ever so grateful you shared your experiences. Best affirmations come when I'm not feeling alone. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Bryn says, today has sucked. I haven't stopped crying. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Bryn. That happens. And you know what I know from experiences like that? You can cry as much as you want. You'll never get stuck in it. You can cry as long as it feels good and even longer. And that's okay. You can judge yourself for crying, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with you or how you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with your mind. There's nothing wrong with the way you were raised. I'll say it again, there's certainly nothing wrong with you. Because you are perfect by design. And spiritual work is simply about remembering this. That's what's so beautiful about the concepts that I'm sharing today. These concepts that were taught to me by a good friend and teacher of mine that I mentioned earlier, Nikon Gormley. They really help take the work out of self-work. And I'm a strong believer in meditation. I mean, huge. I do this in personal sessions with people. Most of the time we go to, this inner place of calm and we just watch intuition come through. And it's beautiful and it gives clarity and insight and so much healing. And we get to walk forward with that healing. Then in life, we're still confronted with our thoughts. Not every moment can we rush to a meditation. Not every moment can we take the break that we need. I mean, we could, but some people might get fired. So, we have to be sympathetic with ourselves. Sometimes we need a break that we feel we can't take. But what we can always do is witness our thoughts and realize that they're creating our reality. And the more we witness those conscious thoughts and notice all the judgments and all the emotions that come up around them, the more they fade away and the next layer arises. But with each next layer, we have more strength, we have more resilience, and we have a stronger center point anchoring us. So we're never presented with something that we cannot handle. Life will never throw something at you that you cannot handle. Never. It may feel that way. We may think that way, and that's okay. But just notice how when you think that way, how disempowering that feels. And then you can go, oh, this is actually my thinking that's causing this disempowerment. And slowly, by noticing it over and over again, you can take back that power. Oh. And we've got some beautiful support here. It says, Brain, you are amazing. Flowers grow with water, and you're growing. Lovely. We're all growing. We're all growing. All right. Thank you so much for today. Have a wonderful morning, day, night ahead of you. All my love and lots of blessings.